Hello, John Hines here. Thank you for watching my video on informed consent. Um, After conducting an internet search as instructed, I located an informed consent agreement from a private practice called Olive Branch Counseling and Training, which is located in Austin, Texas. I did look at several different informed consent forms from different agencies, and I chose the Olive Branch informed consent form because number one, it's a private practice, and that's my aspirations are to become a counselor in private practice, and it did have some sections that stood out to me, and I'll go over those a little bit later. Um, I compared the informed consent documents from Olive Branch to the ACA Code of Ethics on informed consent, specifically the ACA Code of Ethics section on informed consent, as well as the Virginia state regulations, which govern the practice of professional counseling in the Virginia Board of Counseling, which is Chapter 35, Title 54.1 of the Code of Virginia. Overall, I found that these three sources of information on informed consent very closely parallel to each other, but there are some notable exceptions. The ACA Code of Ethics mandates the obligation that counselors review in writing and verbally with clients the rights and responsibilities of both counselor and clients. The ACA Code of Ethics also states informed consent is an ongoing part of the counseling process, and counselors appropriately must document the discussion of informed consent throughout the counseling relationship. So, as I mentioned in the beginning, I did read and go over several different informed consents forms and agreements from other agencies, and as well as I went in depth in my reading of the ACA Code of Ethics and the State Code of Virginia. And I found that the ACA Code of Ethics sets the standard. It seems to set the standard for these informed consent agreements across the board in counseling agencies. Like I had mentioned, there are some notable exceptions that are unique to each different agency, but for the most part, the ACA Code of Ethics sets the standard. The Code of Virginia that governs the practice of professional counseling establishes in writing of legal code the behaviors and best practices which are mandated by law for those in professional counseling. But much of what was included in the Code of Ethics in the Olive Branch informed consent form is also covered in the Code of Virginia. The most obvious difference which distinguishes the Code of Virginia from the other documents is the amount of detail included in the administrative ground, which is covered when it comes to the complaint and the discipline process for procedural and ethical violations for counselors. That section of the state code, because it's law, is much more detailed than anything that I saw in either the Code of Ethics or the informed consent from the Olive Branch. Things about the Olive Branch informed consent form that caught my attention was, it opens up with sections on the history of the practice, as well as sections which outline the Olive Branch philosophy and the stance on client and counselor relationships. That kind of stood out to me, and those are obvious differences between the Code of Ethics and the State Code, because those are two sections that are unique to the practice itself. And of course, the big thing that's totally not included in the Code of Ethics or the State Code is the list of services and the fees with the services. Obviously, the ACA does not establish or set the service fees for different agencies, nor does the Code of Virginia. So there's quite a large section on the Olive Branch informed consent form about the fees and the services. So that's about it. Good luck to everybody, and God bless.